Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you very much. Late night in the Heartland. So glad to be with you. Late night in the Heartland. Welcome, everybody. All right. Sit down if you can. So nice to have you here for Late Night in the Heartland. I'm Jeffrey Daugherty, the Christian Whistleblower, coming to you straight out the Heartland. And I hope you're ready for some unindoctrination, because ready or not, here it comes. Also coming to you tonight, broadcasting live over WBCQ, shortwave across the world, YouTube, and of course, Twitter via Periscope. Did not do the Facebook today. Went out and voted for our great president, and we're so happy to have done so. And things are about to get very, very exciting. Masks aren't very prevalent where I am either, Tracy. And it's going to be great times. Monday night, the day before the election. Of course, we don't podcast on Saturday or Sunday, this show. Monday night, we will have a show entitled "What Happens If Joe Biden Wins?" And we're going to talk about all the things that are going to happen if Joe Biden wins, and none of them are good. So we'll be doing that Monday night. And then Tuesday night, of course, I think we'll probably get the privilege of announcing the winner of the election. We'll get the privilege of officially announcing that President Trump has won the election. That's my prediction. And so it's going to be a very special night. We're looking forward to you all making plans to be here with us. And tonight, we're going to talk a little bit about the watchtower of the Jehovah's Witnesses and the Freemasons. And then I'll be going right into your phone calls for 2 hours, ladies and gentlemen, 2 hours. And the phone calls will be coming from you. You set the topic, you set the subject. And as always, we come to you through Focus Life Force Energy. They're a great sponsor of this program. It is high consciousness on demand. EMF mitigation, grounding, nutrient uptake, brain optimization, great for plants, great for kids, great for you as well. Go to jeffreydaugherty.com, click on the Focused Life Force Energy logo. You can get 30 days for free, and you can also just buy it straight up because it's great. It's better than less than a couple of mediocre cups of coffee at your national coffee house, a month or a week. So make sure that you check it out. It's excellent and powerful stuff. And with that, let's go ahead and go into some more excellent and powerful stuff. Let's talk about the watchtower of Jehovah's Witnesses and the Freemasons. I think Travis was the one that asked about this. I said I'd do it today. I didn't think I would do it here. We're just going to lines are not open. Please don't call. We are going to do it a few nights before this because I think it's a good subject. And interestingly enough, I probably get as many questions about this subject as I get on any subject, which is crazy. You'd think that I'd get different things, but this is one of the main questions that I get. So let's talk about the Watchtower. And that is the organization as well as the magazine. It's called the Watchtower Bible and Tract Society. That's the official name of the Jehovah's Witnesses. And the Watchtower, of course, is their signature magazine that you've all probably seen. But what you don't know, and what many Jehovah's Witnesses don't know, is that they have deep and unavoidable ties with the Freemasons. And we're going to get into that tonight. And this is a book written by what's his name? Fritz Springmeier. And this is his preface. The subject of this book touches almost everyone's life, yet many will not immediately see any connection. It does touch everyone's life. Well, I'm not a Jehovah's Witness. That's okay. You are going to be contacted by a Jehovah's Witness. And I guarantee you that somebody you know is probably going to become a Jehovah's Witness, and very possibly somebody within your family. I tried to become a Jehovah's Witness, but I couldn't because I just couldn't get the doctrine down. I just couldn't accept it. I mean, it's more biblical than just about any other religion that's out there. But the problem is that the Bible is a fear and guilt control matrix. So many people ask you, And if you ask them, they only have vague ideas about the Jehovah's Witnesses and the Freemasons. To them, the Jehovah's Witnesses are overzealous people with twisted religion, and the Masons are just a group that's benevolent, like the Shriners, and they have hospitals and things. But without a doubt, not many people will see a connection between their lives, between the witnesses, and between the Freemasons. And the author's research and my research has led me to conclude, as did Mr. Springmeyer, that the one world government, one world religion that the New Age has planned for us, and the one world government, one world religion that the Freemasons, such as the Grand Orient, have planned, and the one world government, one world religion that the Watchtower Society has planned, and the one world government, one world religion that all of Christianity has planned are all one and the same. Did you understand that? They're all one and the same. Christianity, Freemasonry, Jehovah's Witnesses, Jesuits, the Sanhedrin, the Illuminati. It's all the same plan. It's just different manifestations of the same plan. You won't hear this anywhere else. If you're on WCBQ and you're listening to this saying, what the heck? You're in the right place. And you can call in just a few minutes when we open the phone lines from anywhere you are in the world. And if you're on YouTube or Twitter and you're saying, what the heck, you're in the right place. Listen to this. It's going to change your life. All these things are the same. And before you dismiss this as just being craziness, you owe it to yourself to investigate it. And it's a scheme, ladies and gentlemen. It includes your politics. It includes your religion. It includes all religions. It includes your finance. It includes your government. It includes everything. And you owe it to yourself to investigate this scheme that has enough high caliber people of all walks of life worldwide to bring it to fruition. We know the limbs are driving it, but it does not end with the limbs, and it's not just only the limbs, and not all limbs are bad people. The Witnesses literature provides a prepackaged explanation of world events like all Christianity does. That's my addition. And once one buys into it, you belong to them. You belong to them. Witness literature is prepackaged explanation of world events. So is the Bible a prepackaged explanation of world events. And this study that we're conducting right now is to give you the inside story about that prepackaged explanation. You're also going to find out that there's 3 groups with identical plans for a new world order, probably 4, and that these 3 are inextricably, that means they can't be separated. They're inextricable in their connections. Now, we have to talk about the Jehovah's Witnesses, and we have to talk about the founding personality within the Jehovah's Witnesses. And it's not Jehovah. It's not Jehovah. But let me first address the first thing that hit me about the Jehovah's Witnesses that I couldn't follow is they say they want to restore the name of God, and they say Jehovah is the name of God, but there's no way Jehovah is the name of God because Jehovah is not even a name. Jehovah is the tetragrammaton and the vowels of Adonai put together. It's a nonsensical word. And a group that claims to have restored the name of God, and they have very simply and easily, demonstrably not restored the name of God. These are things you have to understand. They're telling you that it's a joke, but you just don't have the mental sophistication to realize that it's a joke, and the joke is on you. So we need to understand Pastor C.T. Russell, or Charles Taze Russell, because his history as the founder of the organization really is a liability to the society. And they've tried for years to distance themselves from C.T. Russell, while at the same time trying to carry forth his ideas. It's like the Democrat Party trying to say we're not Joe Biden, but Joe Biden is their nominee. So moving on very quickly, Mr. Springmeyer, who wrote this book, has confirmed Russell's Masonic membership. If you get this book, there's actual documentation in the book that proves that C.T. Russell was in fact a free Masonic member. And this book covers the second Watchtower president's MO, his modus operandi, in covering up the use of demonic Watchtower healing devices. They had an actual healing device that was probably using other than white healing powers. It also shows that what Springmeier calls demons, I wouldn't call them demons, played a crucial role in channeling information for the Watchtower leaders. And each of these items is just a piece in the puzzle about who these guys are and what their objectives are. And the book Understudy will help you understand the mindset of the first two presidents of the Watchtower Society. And the Jehovah's Witnesses are playing a big role in preparing this world for the incoming world government. They really are. I know it's hard to imagine. I know it's hard to think of. I know it's hard to believe, but it is true. And unless and until capable individuals like yourselves take the time to investigate and report the real story about the Jehovah's Witnesses, the world will be left with only their own doctored versions. What's the timetable for this new world order? I think you know. We should not sit around until it's launched. And this is another appeal to those of you that think you're too woke to vote. November 3rd is D-Day. November 3rd will either be the Second American Revolution or the Great American Surrender. Everything that the fear porners are promising will come true if Joe Biden wins the presidency. Nothing that the fear porners are predicting will come true when Donald Trump wins the United States presidency. They are planning to launch the New World Order on November 3rd. That's the plan. No doubt about it. They've admitted, I've shown you in recent days, that Donald Trump has single-handedly halted the New World Order and the global agenda. Single-handedly halted it. November 3, you decide if the New World Order gets revived, or you decide if the great American spirit is revived. It's up to you. And if you don't vote, you will be voting for the New World Order. You'll be voting for globalism. You'll be voting for forced vaccinations. You'll be voting for a national mask mandate. And let's be honest, all you woke people, all you earmuffs, all you woke ass bitches that you're so high and mighty, you don't sully yourself with voting. If you don't vote, and if in some crazy thievery Biden would win, you will be the first bitches bitching about having to wear a mask, and it'll be your own goddamn fault, you sorry sons of bitches. You sorry sons of bitches. If you end up wearing a mask full time, you know who to blame. I've named them many, many times. Now, recent Watchtower and New Age literature suggests that this New World Order was planned before the turn of the century, and it obviously is. This author, Mr. Springmeier, and myself encourage you to continue investigating, and we encourage you to share your research and set yourself on surer and more correct ground. That's what I always do. I get a lot of people telling me, well, Jeff, this is my conviction. This is what I believe. Cool story, bruh. But if you say this is what you believe and this is your conviction, you've already told me that you're not much of a student because you're not allowing for any new information to come and affect what you currently believe. So, real quickly to wrap this up and get into our show tonight, and we'll be doing a piece of this until we get through it. What is Masonry now? It's powerful. It comprises men of all ranks, wealth, office, and talent, in power and out of power, and that in almost every place where power is of any importance. They are distributed, too, with the means of knowing each other and the means of keeping secret and the means of cooperating in the desk, in the legislative hall, on the bench, in every gathering of business among enemies and friends in one place as well as in another. So powerful indeed is it at this time, Freemasonry, that it fears nothing from violence, neither public nor private, for it has every means to learn it in season, to counteract, to defeat, and to punish. This was a speech given by a Masonic orator at Brainerd in New London, Connecticut. I wish to draw your notice to the fact that the Almighty God himself is the founder of a secret society. All of you Christians who hate secret societies, your God of your Bible is the founder of a secret society. Moreover, while there are certain correspondences between that human secret society and ones of divine origin in the mind of Pastor Russell, we shall find, as we should expect, that the latter is in every way superior to all others. Secrecy is to the advantage. All Masons are familiar with the secrets pertaining to the first degree, yet not all Masons are familiar with the secrets, etc., pertaining to the 32nd degree. There's a big tell right there. So in God's secret order, there's first principles of the doctrines of Christ, which must be known to all who belong to the order and are also deep things of God. Sermon by Pastor Russell. Jehovah's Witnesses, or those that are thinking about being a Jehovah's Witness, do you realize that Pastor Russell just blew the whistle and told you that the Watchtower Bible and Tract Society is built and structured along the lines of Freemasonry, in that it is a secret order, and in that there are secrets that you will get in the first and entry degrees, and there are secrets that you won't get until you are up to a parallel 32nd degree. You're in a secret service. You're in a secret society. The Jehovah's Witnesses are a secret society, and they are the same secret society that is trying to bring the New World Order upon us. They are of the same sacred and secret society as the Jesuits, the Illuminati, the Limbs, the Bilderbergers, the New World Order, the Jesuits. It's all the same thing. And the Watchtower Bible and Tract Society is part of it. I know those are shocking. That's shocking information for you. And we'll bring you even more shocking information about that as we move forward. We're about ready to open up the phone lines. And remember, there's a few simple rules. One is be polite. And 2 is be interesting. And 3 is keep in mind that you can't dominate the whole show unless you're really, really interesting, because we will have other callers waiting to call in. If you want to talk to me about the Jehovah's Witnesses, if you want to talk to me about the Watchtower Bible and Tract Society, if you want to talk to me about anything, if you agree with me, if you disagree with me, you are welcome to call in. You are not welcome to talk like this Justin Deplorable POS in the chat that wants to say, I'm blasphemous, blah, 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 blah. Justin, you have to have the balls to make the calls. This is a call-in show, and we are trying to force people to call in. That's why we limit what you're able to say in the chat room. Say it once, leave it, okay, but it's a call-in show. We have people around the world, across the world on shortwave. We have people on all of other platforms, and we want you to call in. And we're not going to let you troll in the chat room. That's just the way it is. It's my channel, and that's the way I do it. And if you don't like it, you're welcome to listen to some other providers on YouTube, because you can change to different channels. I don't know if you knew that or not. So with that, let me open the phone lines. The phone lines are 913-279-0831, 913-279-0831. When you call in, you'll hear something like, welcome to the Christian Whistleblower. Hit the 0. If you call in and you hear music, that means you're on hold, and I'll get to you just as soon as I can, ladies and gentlemen. So the phone lines are now open. You can call in at your leisure and at your discretion. And again, ask me anything about anything. And as I roll this on the bottom of the screen, it always makes me wonder. And I would sing, but my back's a little bit wonky today. I kind of tweaked it. The trolls, the critics, the ones that are so sure that I'm so wrong, the ones that will make videos about me, the ones that will talk about me, the ones that think they're too good to talk about me when I call out their hypocrisy, and their followers. We open up the phone lines for 10 hours every single week and give you the opportunity to speak to me. But with almost without exception, the trolls, the critics, the people that follow gurus, they don't have the balls to make the calls. So every night I call you out. I say trolls, I say critics. If you have the balls, make the calls. And I simply say, where you at? Oh, yeah, I forgot. You're bitches. That's why you don't call in. You got an issue, but all you really want is a tissue. And that's okay. Be a caller if you're a baller. And if not, you're just a squaller. See what I did with that? And the phone lines are open, ladies and gentlemen. And I'm hoping that you're making plans. Oh, I got to tell you this. Ladies and gentlemen. We have a great $20 Super Pal chat from Gabriel Housebeck. Gabriel Housebeck just sent a great $20 Super Pal chat. If you want to do Super Pal chat, it's in that box right there. PayPal.me/Jeffrey Daugherty. You know, my channel has been demonetized. So if you want to help out, and I get all of that money, which is even, better. And I want to let you know that I also got a great $10 Super Pal chat from Antonio Mastrani. Thank you so much, Antonio. We appreciate it so much, and it will go towards defraying, I should say, our our shortwave bill. It can't be deferred. It can only be defrayed. That means take money off of it. And we welcome you to do that. And we thank those of you that do it. And I really appreciate it very much. It makes so much, it helps so much, and it makes my life so much easier. And it lets me know how much you really care. And I'm very, very touched by it. So again, the phone lines are open, 913-279-0831. 913-279-0831. Press 0 when you get answered, or if you hear music, just hold on because you are on hold. So, ladies and gentlemen, as we wait for calls, we don't have to wait for interesting things to talk about. Really, really good stuff. Really, really powerful stuff. And I think we've dealt with the China thing. I think most people understand that there is no real incredible threat from China. And one of the things that people have as a complaint about President Trump, why doesn't he do something about the mask? Why doesn't he say something about the dosum whist? Why won't he come clean on that? He must be in cahoots with them. He won't talk about it. Well, did you ever think that maybe Donald Trump knows a little bit more how to run this show than you do? And Mike King of the Anti-New York Times wrote a great piece on just today. And the New York Times put out an article that said Trump's closing argument on virus clashes with science and voters' lives, as if that's a bad thing. If his thoughts didn't clash with science, I'd be really, really upset. And Mike says that barring what would have to be the greatest voter fraud scam in world history this coming November 3rd, we can say with great confidence that the stupid 19 conspiracy to cripple the economy and Herbert Hooverize Donald Trump out of office has failed. Now, we have to stop and talk a minute about what that means, because Mike is a very smart guy and he writes for very smart people. And most of you are very smart people. Some of you aren't, but that's okay. You're here and you're trying. And what we don't understand, a lot of us, and what we should understand, every one of us, because it is so easily apparent, is that the stupid 19, the controller virus, as Tori says, is it a sickness? Yes. Is it a virus? Yes. Is it a flu strain? Yes, it is. Have people got sick from it? Yes. Have some people died from it? Yes. And it must be stated that they've died in much lesser numbers than a normal flu season. It's been a very mild flu season. And it stands to reason why it's been a mild flu season, because we've been locked up and not able to get outside and interact with one another. But the stupid 19, the controller virus, the dosum whist, was created and disseminated for one reason: to cripple the economy, which they thought would certainly force President Trump out of office. And that's what they did to Herbert Hoover. You have to understand history. That was a U.S. president, and they did the same thing to him. And it has failed. The economy yesterday back the GDP 33.1%. The economy, things went down, 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 and they're going up, up, up. It's a huge rocket ship V recovery. Our economy is doing better now in the midst of a pandemic than it ever did under the Joe Biden, Barack Obama leadership. And it has failed. And yet, in the 11th hour, people from the slimes like Alexander Burns, cough, cough, represent the final folly of what Mike's called the Judenpressed Armada. And they're striking against the titanium hull of the unsinkable USS President Donald Trump. And even though it's really futile, it is impressive that they are throwing everything they have at the last moment. They're not going to go down quietly. They're not going to go down quietly. And we'll continue on with this after this call. It's Late Night in the Heartland, and you're live with Jeffrey Daugherty.
So, well, it's me again. I got the call.
Excellent.
It's Delaney Pearl Jones.
I'm sorry, what did you say?
It's Delaney Pearl Jones.
Delaney Pearl Jones. Nice to see you, my friend. Nice to hear you, I guess, is more accurate.
My theory is the flu shots are causing the COVID.
Delaney, I think that you're at least mostly right. I think the flu shots did put the things into people that got activated by the dosum whist. I think you're 100% correct. Of course, we're not doctors. We're speculating. We're offering things for people to think about. But I think that makes a ton of sense, Delaney.
Yeah. I mean, I was talking to the nurse the other day when I went to the doctor, my little checkup, and I said, how come, what's up with the flu? I said, I think it's connected. I think people who got flu shots last year got activated with the COVID this year.
You know what, Delaney? I know it'll never happen, and I can't figure out a way to find this data, but I bet if we could find out, if we could find a list of people that received flu shots and compare that to a list of people that came down with the dosum whist, you're going to see most of the same names on that list.
So do you remember when the measles epidemic was going on?
I don't, but something else just hit me, Delaney. What if we took the list of the people that have perished because of the dosum whist and compare that with people that got vaccines? I'll bet there's not one on the death list that didn't have a vaccine. But what about the measles?
Well, they were calling and trying to do studies, right? And I videotaped my phone call with the guy, and because they kept trying to call me to take the survey, and I said no. And I said, how come you guys never kept track of who got the vaccine and who died from the measles? Who's been dying from the measles? Are you guys keeping track of that? And who had vaccination that died? I said, you guys are doing a study. Why don't you study that?
What did they say to you, Delaney?
Well, we didn't do that. I videotaped it. I got it on my playlist.
Well, we need to do that.
I put it in my Trumpy Bumpy playlist.
So they're not even.
I fired Bill Gates.
Do you believe that they didn't keep track? Or do you believe they're just not telling us?
They're fishing for shit to fuck us up even more.
They are, and I think they know, Delaney. I think they know exactly who they've given it to, and I think they know exactly how it's affected them, but they're not going to let us know that they know. That data, data is the most, in this world today, data is probably the most precious asset out there, and you can bet your bottom dollar that they know exactly all of the data and all of the numbers.
Exactly. And I got it. I videotaped it, and it is hilarious.
Delaney, I have a question for you.
Yes, sir.
You're living in this real world. You see the horrible things that are going on. Yet you seem like you're a person that is able to keep a positive and optimistic outlook. What's your secret?
I got a lot of comedians for spirit guides.
Okay, that works.
The dragon crew of my spirit guide comedy, my comedy clan, is Rodney Dangerfield, No Joke, Sam Kinison, Red Fox, Richard Pryor, and Chris Farley.
That's amazing. Delaney, do you ever worry that sometimes that, all right, do you ever think that the spirit guides you have may not be spirit guides? They might be something else that might take a turn on you at some point?
Well, I'm the Black Pearl. You know what a Black Pearl is, Jeff?
I do, but would you tell people what it is?
Well, the Black Pearl, is one of the most metaphysical healing stones ever. It's a Tahitian pearl, Black Pearl. Also considered, it's a legend, they say, they are created from a dragon's tears.
Interesting.
And anything that comes within its vicinity is healed and has prosperity.
Ooh.
And my name, Delaney, in Gaelic, it means black. Look it up.
I believe you.
You're Irish, Jeff.
I know.
You should know what Delaney means, brother.
I do. And here's the thing, I'm sitting here thinking, when people talk about demons and stuff, I really, from what I've studied over these 40 years, I know that most of it that it's called demon is just really an imbalanced energy. And I know that if you can put out positive energy, when these things come around you, they get rebalanced and become a balanced harmonic being again. And that's exactly what you're doing. And I'll make a confession here tonight. You call it your spirit guides. I don't really like the word spirit guides, but I do have a council that I call together on a regular basis. And
Council,
it includes
angel army, all that.
It includes people, some of them living, some of them dead. Do I think it's really those people? Doesn't matter. Is it externalizations of my various selves? Doesn't matter. But I get good advice from people like W. Clement Stone, from people like
Hubbard says he's been sticking with you since you went to see him in Florida.
Yep, I know, and that just gave me chills because I did talk to Ron.
He's been with you since you left.
Through a spirit box, I talked to Ron. I talked to Ron.
Yeah.
And also, there's people, Delaney, I got people on my council like Hannibal Lecter.
Yeah. Genghis Khan.
Why would you have a Genghis Khan or a Hannibal Lecter on your council of advisors?
Because they studied war, they studied the mind of how people worked and how they calculated, and they
understand evil too, don't they? They understand evil,
right?
And you know, if you're going to be successful, you got to understand evil. Who better to understand evil from than people that operate in evil and understand it very thoroughly?
Yeah, and every civilization that has quote unquote turned evil has been disrespected, hurt, maimed, murdered, and massacred by another civilization. Okay, poor China. China's really fucked up because of Britain.
They are. And, you know, Delaney, for years before he became president, Donald Trump has been on my council.
You mean Fred?
No, I mean it was Donald Trump.
Okay.
And people talk about this, you know, what is a council? Well, it comes from the guy that wrote what's the book that the Interview with the Devil, and he wrote oh, come on. How am I forgetting his name?
Interview with the Vampire, Anne Rice?
No. My one of my mentor guys, and I really am in pretty bad pain.
Interview with the Devil. The Rosicrucians?
No, it was W. Clement Stone's mentor. I can see him. I wrote a book about him. He wrote Think and Grow Rich. Napoleon Hill. I'm sorry. Napoleon Hill.
Oh, okay.
What you do, folks, if you don't know what we're talking about, you meditate, and you will. I have a meeting, L. Ron Hubbard's there. Elvis is there. A lot of people I won't mention are there. And I ask them questions and they give me advice. Now, is that just externalization of my various selves? I don't know, but I get good advice.
You remember Milky Way Weekly, Brian?
I remember him, yeah.
Well,
he passed away, didn't he?
And then the motherfucker, Charlie Daniels, died the day after, right?
Wow.
Guess who the fuck showed up at the house?
Both of them.
I got him on video.
Oh, wow. Did Charlie Daniels play the
filters?
Did he play the did Charlie Daniels play the banjo for you or anything?
Yeah, he showed up at the Crossroads for the 699 Trip Holy Ghost party.
That is awesome. That is awesome. Delaney, you're crazy, but you're my kind of crazy.
Thank you. So what I wanted to tell you, Anton LaVey left his body on October 29th, 1997. Well, you ever watch the interview? The lady's like, yeah, he said he was wrong. This is wrong. This is wrong. Well, guess what? The folks, his buddies and shit, his kinfolks came and said, hey, man, we ain't going nowhere. We finna go to find Deep Pearly Gates, goddammit. And she's over on the Rock River. I was living in Rockford, Illinois. He found me on 6/6/1999. I was living on Church and Whitman in Rockford, Illinois, on the Rock River.
So why the hell is Anton LaVey looking for you, Delaney?
I don't know. They all tell me I look like this bright ass giant beam of purple light, and it's something about their birth signs and my birth sign on the frequency that I give off. Also because of how I was born, dead, and they see me and they can't help it. I'm the Black Pearl. They come to me like a fucking moth to a flame involuntarily.
Wow. This is interesting stuff, Delaney.
Listen to this. When Maury Travis killed himself at the jail, he jumped in the toilet into the water. And the spirits in the water are like, man, you can go get healed. You can get healed because Maury Travis was abused as a child. Every serial killer, 98% of the serial killers have been abused.
Oh, absolutely. I think that's verifiable.
Or Richard Ramirez. Oh, my God, that poor child endured a lot of shit. Okay, Richie Ramirez. Maury Povich interviewed his ass, right? And Maury Povich said, not everything has the capability to kill. Well, you know what? It does. Everything living does have a capability to be killed. Kill or be killed, eat or be eaten. And guess who the fuck helped me expose Maury Povich as a lizard-eyed, negative energy, shit-starting demon?
Richard Ramirez.
Yes.
Now, Delaney, let me ask you
videos and pictures of that motherfucker.
Let me ask you one more question before we let you go. Ted Bundy, always claimed that he had a very idyllic, good childhood and that he wasn't abused. Do you think he's just lying?
He was ignored by his mother.
Yeah.
Just because you weren't hurt and beaten doesn't mean you weren't abused in some way, shape, or form.
Good point.
She disrespected him so bad and ignored him.
And all those other girls paid the price.
That's all he wanted to do was make his mother proud and try to impress people and get attention. That's it. But his sexual desires, he killed women that kind of looked like his mama.
Yep.
And so did Maury Travis. Okay.
Yeah.
And Jeffrey Dahmer, his poor motherfucking brain, he had a childhood virus in his brain, like almost exploded when he was little. And during that time he was sick, his mama and daddy was a couple of alcoholics. All they did was fight and ignore him. Okay. So he didn't get no love and tender and care when he was healing. His brain fried the fuck out.
Yep. It's a tragedy.
As he got older, he would drink and he would go into his little world, and the Reapers would take over. Okay, the sick Reapers that like to have fun. Yeah,
you're telling the truth, Delaney. Listen, I appreciate the call. We've been about 15 minutes. I need to roll on to somebody else. Please keep calling in, okay?
Subscribe to my channel, because I really miss going live on YouTube. I can't figure any other ways because the Matrix don't like me too well.
All right.
I'll be fucking shit up.
Let's go over and let's subscribe to Delaney's channel, and let's help
Delaney's
her.
Delight Jones, all caps.
Delaney's Delight Jones. That's where we're going to go over, and we're going to subscribe. Delaney, I appreciate you calling me back. Delaney's Delight Jones. I guess you have to have a certain number of subscribers before you can go live. Like I said, Delaney's crazy as hell, but she's my kind of crazy, and she's got a good heart, and she's in the right place. So you know what? It's okay if we're not all expressing ourselves in the very same way. And you think about serial killers, and I start thinking about it in terms of Scientology and Dianetics, and these guys are Ingrammed up, and there's no doubt, and I know that you guys don't like it when I push Dianetics. That's okay. White Dianetics is the answer for the world. If Ted Bundy, if Richard Ramirez, if any of these guys, Eileen Wuornos, if they could have got Dianetic therapy, they wouldn't have been killing people. They could have been reformed and freed, because we're really born good. Humans are born good. I know that goes against everything that you've been taught, and that's why you should realize that it's true, because everybody knows humans are born bad. When everybody knows something, then you should know it's wrong. Humans are born good, and we become bad not by anything we do. We do not become bad by things we do. We become bad by things that are done to us by other people. And White Dianetics will free you from these things, I guarantee you. Tracy makes a great point that MK Ultra creates many of these serial killers. These aren't guys that just decide to go out and kill. These are guys and girls that have engrams implanted in them that get triggered and re-stimulated. Sorry, I saw it on the screen. Get triggered and re-stimulated. We've got another caller. It's Late Night in the Heartland. You're live with Jeffrey Daugherty.
Fucker right in the pussy.
Try again. That's what you call a limp dick piece of shit, ladies and gentlemen. And I think we have somebody holding. Close. No, I guess we don't. See, that's what happens when a troll tries to get some balls to make a call and really can't, because they're limp dicked. I used to call them bitches, but that is they're not. That is an insult to bitches. So no, they're just limp dicks, and there you go. I hope you feel better by that. I hope you got a real good anyway, I didn't hang up on you, Delaney. I just ended the call. Thanks for calling in. It's Late Night in the Heartland. You're live with Jeffrey Daugherty.
Hey, Jeff, how are you tonight?
I'm doing good, man. How are you?
Oh, not too bad. I just wanted to call in and ask you if you owned any books on Freemasonry.
I do. I've got a couple recently that, I got a couple good ones recently.
Have you read through Morals and Dogma?
I've never I've kind of skimmed it in the PDF form, but I've never sat down and read through it. No. Why? What does that say to you, or what's, I know there's a lot important about it, but what's on your mind about it right now?
Well, I just found it interesting. My friend had actually gotten a copy from somebody, and it was a really funny story of how he got it. But a member of my family, they had passed away a few years ago, and I actually have a Masonic Bible, as well as the Duncan Wright book, which is the Duncan Ritual.
Yes.
And it's all really interesting stuff. Like, they've got the actual rituals written in there with like coded languages and stuff. It's really weird.
And of course, Morals and Dogmas is the book by Albert Pike.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I found out that they were actually pretty high up in the Masonic order, like the Knights de Molière and stuff like that. I found it pretty interesting, the parallels that it's connected into Jehovah's Witnesses like that. It reminds me of a multi-level marketing scheme where they're like trying to mix in business with it through evangelical outreach.
Well, it really is, Brandon, because, you know, again, I've seriously considered joining the Jehovah's Witnesses, and what they really do, it is multi-level marketing, but instead of making money, you're judged by how many converts you make and how many Bible studies you have. So it really is multi-level marketing, but they're not trying to make money. They're trying to make converts. So it is
Right.
religious multi-level marketing, and souls are what's being trafficked.
Right. And one other interesting thing that I found out that I didn't really ever pay attention to, like those other fraternal organizations like the Elks Club, they're like tied into Freemasons, even though they're a different organization. Like I've got one of their handbooks and it's got similar language in it. So within like the Knights of Columbus, that's like the Catholic sect of Freemasonry, isn't it?
Yes.
Yeah. So it's like they've all got their own little like version of it, which I find really just strange.
It's very strange. It really is. And you can see that it does go all through, and they're all part of the same thing. They really are. And
Right.
it's one big club, and we're not in it. And they're trying to con us into it, or really trying to con us to be their servants.
Right. And have you watched any of young Pharaoh's insights into any of it? Like how he equates like what's going on with the fraternal orders of police, what a lot of that is stoking racial tension on purpose, like with the Derek Chauvin case with George Floyd. Like he wasn't kneeling on his carotid artery to kill him. Like he was a part of a fraternal order of police where they're trying to use those organizations to stoke racial tension.
You know, that's a little bit hard for me to accept just at face value. When I was first starting out in sales, I actually worked for phone rooms that would raise money for the Fraternal Order of Police and for the same organization that the firefighters have. I don't know what it was called, but
Right.
I knew that most of the FOP people, Fraternal Order of Police people that I knew, they were just, you know, doing it because, you know, it contributed to their retirement
Sure.
fund. And the FOP was basically a sort of a union for police officers. And it was, you know, kind of I always thought it was more of an Elks Club, but I'm not saying that there couldn't be some dark manifestation of it. I just didn't see any.
Trust me.
I didn't see any
interesting.
indications of it. So no, I don't look a lot at other people's stuff because I'm so busy on my own. But yeah, that's very
Right.
interesting. FOP and stoking racial tensions, huh?
Yeah. No,
What
I'm
about
serious.
black FOP members?
They've got the boule.
Ah, I see. I wonder. There are black FOP members, though, for sure, right?
Yeah, but I'm telling you that he did like 2-3 hour live streams separately on analyzing all this stuff, and he has receipts for how it's all connected into the other masonry sects and whatnot.
Yeah, I'll definitely check it out. And Tracy's saying that the Freemasons have infiltrated law enforcement. See, I didn't, and that makes sense because the guy that was trying to get me to become a Freemason was involved in law enforcement. Interesting.
And that is why, Jeff, you're exactly right with sheriffs being like the true line of defense, because a lot of these, look at what's going on in a lot of the riots and whatnot. Police have, by rule of Supreme Court decision, they have said that police officers are under no legal obligation to protect your life.
That's exactly right.
And a lot of times local police, if they are corrupt enough, they basically run the town as they see fit. And that's why the sheriff is the check and balance for that. And I think a lot of sheriffs are honestly more down to earth people than your average police officer. It's actually possible to be too intelligent to be a police officer.
Well, Brandon, the sheriff is the extension of the executive branch of the U.S. government in the county. And the sheriff doesn't take an oath to the governor, doesn't take an oath to the county commission. The sheriff takes an oath to protect and defend the Constitution of the United States. And Tracy made an interesting correlation. If you look at a lot of police symbology, it's very thoroughly Freemasonic.
Yeah, it is.
And Brandon, I had an idea that this is a crazy idea, but I'm thinking that it might be time to defund the police. Now, listen to me. Don't get crazy, people. Defund the municipal police and reallocate the funds that are spent on municipal police to the county sheriffs, so we wouldn't have any more municipal police forces, which pretty much disintegrate into just revenue generation for the city and can become little thugs, little mafioso organizations, because they aren't pledged to protect and defend the U.S. Constitution. And if we would defund the police and give it back to I think what the founding fathers originally understood, give it back to the sheriffs to be the main law enforcement officers in America. Now, the sheriffs and sheriff's deputies aren't immune to, bad stuff. Again, my vocabulary is fleeing me a little bit, but I think that'd be a great idea. Defund the police and reallocate those funds to the county sheriffs.
But what then would happen with the problem of cities, needing proper law enforcement?
Well, the sheriffs would patrol the cities. Just if you're like, we'll say LA, for example, the LAPD would be gone, but it would be the Los Angeles County Sheriff's Department that would take the jurisdiction of law enforcement in Los Angeles and every other city within Los Angeles County. So basically you're kind of changing uniforms and changing cars, but what it allows you to do is, if the LAPD is disbanded, then you get to re-interview everybody that was in the LAPD, and you can weed out the bad cops that way by bringing them under the Los Angeles County Sheriff's Department.
Absolutely. And I mean, we are shown movies all the time of how corrupt police law enforcement are in certain ways. And I honestly think, if it's such a prevalent problem that it shows up in movies, imagine how much worse it is in real life.
Oh, I can only imagine. And, I don't think that Biden's going to win. I really don't. But I mean, and we'll talk about this Monday night, just a little preview peek. If there was something bad and somehow they were able to steal the election, I would think, what do we do? Do we run? Do we flee the country? But what we could do, if we wanted to get together, Brandon, we could identify a county somewhere in the United States, and we could all move to that county, and then we could elect one of us as the sheriff of that county, and we could literally peacefully create Woketown, USA, for lack of a better word. We could have, the unindoctrinated county, and we could all live there, and then we could just take over the neighboring counties, and we could maybe, in some, after a few generations, we could have our own state or our own region.
And then we have a situation arise like the Bundy Ranch,
Thank you. The Bundy Ranch, I don't know enough about that because I wasn't really into that at that time.
But you get what I mean.
Was the Bundy Ranch all bad? Were they bad guys or were they good guys? You're saying the federal government come down on you?
Yeah, because I mean, you look at other examples. I think that a lot of FFs that occurred were set up by certain. I think that they were mostly peaceful. As much as I hate to use that terminology, you get what I mean. I think that they were trying to separate enough from the influence of the government, and they didn't like that, and so they felt the need to make an example of them.
But nobody's tried my method. Nobody has actually tried that. Well, actually, somebody did try it. It was, you remember the Rajneeshis out in Oregon?
No, I never heard about
There's
them.
this guy named this Bhagwan Sri Rajneesh. And interestingly enough, who's the crazy guy that thinks that he's Nostradamus? John Hogue. John Hogue was one of his disciples, and they went out to this county, Antelope County in Eastern Oregon. Thank you, sweetheart. I appreciate it very much. They went out to Eastern Oregon, and they built this compound, and they all moved there to this county, Antelope County. And in the next side, they moved there like 2 years into a sheriff cycle. After 2 years, they voted in one of their own people as sheriff. They voted them in as city council. They voted them in as school board, and they effectively took over Antelope County, changed it to, I think that they were going to change the name, but they really took it over, and there was nothing anybody could do because it was perfectly legal. So we can actually take over and have our own place to live if we do it strategically, and it can be done completely peacefully. Does that mean that one of these days the Oregon State Police might have gone out there? I think they got bored and they all left, or they started getting it was a kind of a sex and drug thing, and it fell apart. Give me it.
Minnesota.
What happened in Minnesota?
Ilhan Omar.
Oh, that's right. You know what? Think of that, and let's look at that just for a second. We got to make a break here in 4 minutes. So you get Barack Hussein Obama, and now you think about, Barack Hussein Obama. He's just such a great guy, such a great president. He wants to bring these poor, I think they're Somali immigrants. We want to bring all these poor Somali immigrants in. And, we're going to send them up to this one place. Why did Barack Obama decide to send them all into one place, into one district, so they could do exactly what we just talked about?
Exactly. And
wow,
it blows my mind that we would allow that to happen. But
honestly, they outsmarted us. It's legal. They outsmarted us.
That channel that you told me to check out, No More White Guilt.
Yeah.
100% approve.
Do you get a little bit of, I love the guy. I'm reading his books. I'm going to tell on
generation. For our generation, he's going to be like George Lincoln Rockwell.
You know what? And I'm bad, and he's going to hate me. Jason, you're going to hate me for that. No, I'm not even going to say it. He's so strong. He's so powerful. He just gives me a little bit of a heebie-jeebie. Do you get any heebies or jeebies off of him?
No, because he is saying very uncomfortable things that, again, George Lincoln Rockwell was very much on that borderline. And they're so passionate because it is such a dire situation and people don't treat it as such. And you can see the evidence in the progression of what's gone on in the African continent. I mean, you have the fall of Rhodesia turning into Zimbabwe. You've got the fall of South Africa going on now. Basically, any time that we've ever tried to build up an area, yes, atrocities do occur. But at the same time, it's like, I feel like we're trying to bring about a better thing for all people.
We are. And we only got about a minute left before the break. But
but our Western civilization is in real trouble.
Go check out that channel. It's called No White Guilt, right? Or No More White Guilt.
Yes.
Check it out. Let him know that Jeff sent you. And we're talking about getting together. He's going to be on the program. I want him to come on and talk about, he's got this book called Go Free. And what it talks about, it's about aligning with the archetype of Western kind. And it's nothing more than white people saying, you know what? We have great culture. We have great traditions. We have a great pride in our race. And let's go ahead. And he's kind of the young Pharaoh of the young white people, sort of.
Yeah, and honestly, it's not an exclusionary message. It's about integrating everyone into what Western idealism actually is and living in peace with each other rather than trying to fight each other and blame each other for everybody's shortcomings.
Absolutely. I got to let you go, Brandon. We got to make our hard commercial at the top of the hour, our hard break. You're welcome to call back in. And if you want to call in now, you certainly can call in. You'll just have to wait on hold. Big fan of No White Guilt. It's a great channel, and I think you should check the guy out. His name is Jason. You know, I think he goes by Kona. The way it's spelled in German, it would be Kern. That umlaut always makes me want to say it. It's very fun to say the umlaut Kern. But anyway, Silver Eagle just subscribed. Excellent. Let him know that Jeff sent you, because we're trying to build a relationship, and I want him to know that we are, you know, helping him out, and we're not trying to be infiltrators. So with that, I'm Jeffrey Daugherty. This is Late Night in the Heartland. We're going to take a short little break, and we'll be back to your calls right after the break. And this is from our great sponsor, the folks at Focus Life Force Energy. I hope that you will take a look at this, and it's going to be just a short little break. I need a break, and here it comes, ladies and gentlemen. We'll be right back after this and I'm having trouble with my mouse, after this from Focused Life Force Energy. Enjoy, because it's very powerful.
Focused Life Force Energy is a subscription service that activates a high consciousness field. Now, this high consciousness field supports our mission of the optimal conditions for human evolution. So FLFE, or Focused Life Force Energy, works much like prayer. So holding a person in mind, we believe, activates a field around that person. And then whatever you're feeling for that person, whether it's healing energy, love, is now by quantum association in that field. So FLFE works in much the same way, where we have an identifier for an location, whether it's a legal address, coordinates, or an object such as a cell phone. We activate a field, and then we're specifying the conditions within the field.
So we use consciousness kinesiology to write the programs that we have in the high consciousness field. So these programs are positive declarative statements which enhance the field and provide you the opportunity to be your best self, as Jeff said. It supports the mission of us having the optimal conditions for the evolution of consciousness. We also have programs such as EMF mitigation. We also have a brain optimization program. That's brain optimization for the modern world, which assists us with managing the electromagnetic smog that we live in. Helps rebuild the brain during the evening and focus on enhancing our brain functions during the day. And there's many other programs that we won't mention at this time. They're on our website. We're constantly adding more value to the service by adding more programs and refining the ones that we have.
That's Focused Life Force Energy, and everything they say is true. And it's one of those things where it's like when I met Cynthia, I was always waiting for the other shoe to drop, you know, okay, what's the catch here? But every day with Cynthia gets better and better, and every day with Focused Life Force Energy does too. And with that, thank you for holding through the break. I'm Jeffrey Daugherty, and you're live on Late Night in the Heartland.
Hello, Mr. Jeff. My name is Jamie.
Hello, Jamie. How are you?
Fine, thank you. I have a quick question about your theory.
You're a little bit low in volume. If you can speak more into the phone, just to let you know. But yeah, what's your question and what theory?
Okay. I'd like to know your theories about people that are RH negative and what a purpose is in this world.
You know, I have believe it or not, the most watched video that I've ever had on this channel was a super old video that I did. It was actually a blog talk radio interview. It's not even video, with a medical doctor.
I've listened to that.
And that's the extent of my knowledge on RH negative. I don't really know much about it. I'm not RH negative as far as I know. I know there's a lot of speculation about it. I know there's a lot of accusation about it. My sense is that it's probably a little bit overblown and a little bit too much of a big deal being made. But I know it's a real thing. It's a relevant thing, especially if you have RH negative blood. But I'm certainly not an expert on it. And I'm not going to sit here and say that, you know, it's from space aliens or from anything else. It's a mystery that I haven't felt particularly compelled to dive into.
Oh, okay. because I know I did watch your video that you had about it with your interviews, and it was so amazing that the things that the gentleman described, you know, fit me to a T.
Wow.
You know, the light colored eyes, you know, the empath, you know, people say that, you know, that I can get along with the devil himself. You know, I just have a lot of questions about it, and I was just wondering what your opinion of it would be.
Yep, that I've given it to you. I really don't have enough knowledge to have an opinion on it. My mind is very open, and I'm willing. I'm open to any input, and it's very, very interesting. And obviously, a lot of people are interested into it. It makes for a great show. But that's all I know about it. Do you have any other questions you'd like to ask me?
Just your white and dark on the Dianetics. Is that just in the Dianetics, or is that in Scientology itself?
That's a great question, and the answer is yes. When you're talking about Dianetics and Scientology, they're really two different things. Dianetics deals with your humanness, optimizing your humanness, and Scientology deals with optimizing your spirituality or your thetan. So they're a holistic spiritual technology, one dealing with the body, one dealing with the incorporeal part of the body, which in Scientology is called the thetan. So light Scientology, light or white Scientology, white Dianetics, is designed to help you and improve you and get you to a state that's called clear, where you are fully divine, fully sovereign, fully free. Black Dianetics, black Scientology is the basis and the methodology of MK Ultra, mind control, and all of the various and sundry organizations that are using that. So that's the difference between white Dianetics, white Scientology, or black Dianetics and black Scientology.
Okay. Another question that I have to get on that subject. Do you think a lot of the people on the left are products of MK Ultra?
Absolutely. I think the people on the left, and when you say a product of MK Ultra, you've got to understand that MK Ultra was developed in the very same hospital where L. Ron Hubbard was developing Dianetics at the very same time, and they were stealing his data. So MK Ultra is actually reverse engineered Dianetics, and what it does is it implants what Dianetic people would call an engram. It implants that in them, and it can be, in Dianetic terms, re-stimulated at a later date. But what they do is plant a trigger in a person where they can reactivate them later. So
like the Manchurian candidate,
or like these individuals that go in and shoot up a Walmart. They're making a normal living, pumping gas and living in their mom's basement. And all of a sudden, they wake up one day and decide to go shoot up a Walmart. It's because they get triggered, re-stimulated from their engrams.
Do you actually think that it's still going on to this day?
Absolutely. And here's what's happened. In the early days of the technology, it had to be applied personally. You would have to do counseling and do physical manipulation of a person to be able to implant engrams that would be strong enough that they could be, we'll talk MK Ultra terms, to plant triggers that could be reactivated. Now they perfected the technology where it can be done through media and even through things like voice to skull technology.
Okay, like maybe like subliminal suggestions?
Absolutely like that, because it's subliminal, because when you're watching TV or listening to music or even going down the road with all of the advertisement, your analytical mind drops just enough for them to be able to plant those suggestions to go past your analytical mind and reside in your reactive mind or your reptilian mind. You're exactly right in the way that you're thinking of it.
Okay, is there any way for people to block it?
You don't have to block it. See, blocking is an idea, and shielding is an idea that sounds good, but it's not effective. Shielding was only meant to give you coverage for a little while to get where you want to go in spiritual terms. Then you drop the shielding, because shielding can't hold up long term. So what you do is you just get yourself clear, and you're not affected by it anymore. You effectively remove all of the triggers, and then once you're clear, you're constantly in your analytical mind, and your analytical mind can recognize that. And once you can recognize it, you can say, oh, here's some energy coming. It's very strong energy. I can get rid of the intention of that energy, like catching a flaming arrow, blowing out the flame. And then you can take that energy as an arrow and put it in your own quiver, and you make yourself even stronger.
Okay. Now, with your Dianetics training, do you audit?
Yes, I do. My goal is to teach people to self-audit. But when we get to that place, people that aren't able to self-audit or need a little help, I'll probably make myself available to help them. But Ron's original goal and my goal is to help people get to the place where they can self-audit. We have people on hold. Go ahead and wrap up with anything that you have to say here in your next few minutes.
Nope, that was all. I greatly appreciate you taking my call.
That's a great call, and I hope that you'll call back, again.
All right, I thank you. You have a wonderful evening.
I will. You've helped make it so. Thank you. And thank you for holding on. You're live with Jeffrey Daugherty.
Hi, Jeff. My name is Rhonda Mabry.
Hi,
from
Rhonda.
Illinois. I've actually met you in St. Louis, Missouri at the Helium Club.
Oh,
And
yes.
Yeah. Well, I really appreciate you having this talk about the Jehovah's Witnesses and the Freemasons. I actually studied with them for 3 years.
The Witnesses?
Yes, I did.
Mm-hmm.
And they're very scriptural people. And actually, the couple that came, I really did like them as individuals, just as people.
Sure.
I think they were unaware of, like I said, they're really into the scriptures and what have you. But I did encounter.
And a lot of good people in that organization. I agree with you 100%.
Yes. Yes. And now, they were an older couple. I studied with them for 3 years, but I'm glad you're doing this show, and I encourage witnesses to question this. I actually I discovered Charles Taz and his gravesite in Pennsylvania. And,
yep. Tell people a little bit about the gravesite. Tell people a little bit about the gravesite, what you discovered, if you want to.
Well, he's a Mason.
Right.
You can look it up on the internet. You could see pictures of it's got the pyramid, it's got the stone, it's got the Masonic symbols.
Yep.
Well, then therefore I did some research on the watchtower several years past in the beginning. And they actually used to have the symbols on,
we'll get into that in this series. You're exactly right.
Well, yes, and I questioned this, and of course, with the witnesses, and they were friends, and they act quite surprised about, I've never heard of this stuff. And so I said, well, I have these questions, and I like to have them answered or what have you. And they avoided these. We had a couple other meetings, they have studies.
Exactly.
We'll study with them once a week. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And they said, well, they gave me excuses like it's much like Christmas. Back in the day, we used to celebrate Christmas. We found out that was no longer a good thing to do, so we no longer do it. So therefore, maybe he was involved with Masonry, but that's no longer part of it now. And I said, well, that's a brotherhood. Once in, always in.
Right.
That's what it is.
And there's a lot of evidence that they really are still very much part and parcel with Freemasonry, and we'll get to that as well.
Well, and if people would like to go and actually look, he's buried in Pennsylvania. You can see his gravesite. You can look up the symbolism. It's clear.
One of these days, I need to do that.
Yes, and if you'll look back to do research on their first pamphlets, the Watchtower, that they put out and such, the symbols are on right, left-hand side. They're both.
They're right there.
Yeah, they're right there, and they no longer are on the Watchtower today. But and I adore the people that came. I just like them as people, but I think they're unaware, and they're so entrenched in it that they don't want to believe those kind of things are so.
No, you're right. I think they all typically come to a point, though, where they'll start asking questions. And that's the time where, if you maintain relationships with them, maybe they'll come to you with some of those questions.
Yes. Yes. And these, like I said, they're in their 80s and they're just fantastic. I studied with them for 3 years. But I'm glad you have this, because I'm sure there's witnesses out there or studying that will inquire. You can look at the grave site. You can go back and look at and it's not just him. It's just,
absolutely.
It goes on. I mean, you need to go deep into it. You can see where this is rooted. But it's a great show. And me and my husband, we just love the focused life force energy. We're glad.
Perfect.
You introduced us to that. Yep.
Well, listen, this is a beautiful call. Thank you so much.
Well, you're welcome. You have a great night, Jeff.
You too. Take care. Calls are stacking up. Just be patient. You are live with Jeffrey Daugherty. Whoops, it went away. Here we go. It's late night in the Heartland, and you're live with Jeffrey Daugherty.
Hey, Jeff. How you doing, buddy?
Doing great, my friend. What's on your mind tonight?
Well, I want to ask a question of you. What's going on in the occult community, the atheist community, why are they all a bunch of liberal Democrats? I know I left a comment about your buddy Aaron Ra. I used to follow his stuff. He's a very intelligent man until I found out he was a liberal Democrat.
I don't know who that is. Who was it again?
Aaron Ra. He's doing a debate against your boy Nathan.
Oh, I don't know who that guy is, but yeah, it sounds interesting.
Yeah, I mean, they're all very fairly intelligent people, but
they
all subscribe to these liberal Democrat policies. I'm conservative. I support Trump.
Right.
I mean,
thank you.
If anything, I used to be a Satanist, and that's one reason why I picked up on most of your stuff is because you're like, no gods, no masters, just sovereign divinity, all that stuff. That totally appealed to me.
Well, thank you. And that's really what we're headed for, I hope.
Yeah. I don't know. It just baffles me.
It is very funny that, and I think I share part of your bewilderment, because these people that claim to be in the truth movement and they claim to be trying to seek truth, but they are spouting, this left-wing communist ideology like they don't even know what they're saying.
It's fear and it's outrage, and I am totally against that.
Absolutely. And that's why I continue to challenge them over and over and again. People say, why do you have to keep talking about these people? These things have to be challenged, and I think these things have to be exposed, and there's not many people that have the gravitas to be willing to do it.
Yeah. Well, I just wanted to say that real quick. Have a good night, Jeff.
I appreciate it. Please call back again.
All right. Thank you.
Take care. Do we have another call on hold? We do not have another call on hold. I don't know who that Aaron Ra is. Don't know anything about them. And of course, if you have questions about other people, the easiest thing to do is ask them the question, and probably the most direct route. But Tracy makes a good point here. How come these people don't know? Well, we don't teach it anymore in the schools, so they don't know what they don't know. It's late night in the Heartland, and you're live with Jeffrey Daugherty.
I'm live?
You are live. I'm Jeff. How you doing?
I'm doing good, man. I'm watching your show right now about the Jehovah's Witnesses and Freemasons. Am I watching the right show?
You are.
Okay, great, man. I actually missed the first part of the show, so I just wanted to call in because I actually have an experience that goes right along with that. I grew up a Jehovah's Witness, and I was actually, I found my way out of that at age 18, and I was disfellowshipped. And, of course, I'm shunned by my family and everyone that I knew growing up. And I've always thought that it was funny because, as a truther and as finding truth in my life, I've found it entirely crazy that what they call their doctrine is the truth.
I was just going to say that. It's really interesting now that we've got this truth movement, and the Jehovah's Witnesses call themselves the truth. How could you leave the truth? We're in the truth. When they talk about getting their, you know, their testimony, well, I've been in the truth, and you're so right, and it's very striking.
Yes, very much. And, you know, in my family, the little bit of contact I do have with them, they're always hounding me. When are you going to come back in the truth? You know, get back in the truth. That's their words. And I'm like, my goodness. I'm like, what you call the truth is nothing more than a doctrine. It's a belief system. I was like, and,
right.
You know, God bless my family. They're really good people. I love them to death. I miss them, but they're brainwashed and they're blind. You know what I'm saying? It's not their fault. It happened to them because they got into this organization that brainwashes people.
What allowed you to free yourself?
You know, just from an early age, I could tell there was something not right about it. As I looked at the magazines, the Watchtower Awake magazines, I could tell that there was something about them that was evil. A lot of the pictures and things, I had one of those minds. I could stare at stuff and see the inner picture in it.
Wow.
A lot of their artwork and stuff has demons in it, like in the background, weird eyes and stuff like that.
You know, I thought that was bullshit, and I started to look. I got a couple hold of the magazines to look at them online. And it really does have hidden, freaky, dirty, nasty, horrific imagery hidden in the pictures. It's craziness.
It really is, man. And, and that kind of stuff started scaring me and freaking me out at a young age. And I you know, they teach you to be separate from all your friends at school. You can't play sports. You don't do holidays. And just all that sort of thing was a downer anyway. And so, you know, I just knew. I was like, I don't want to do this the rest of my life, you know. So I had to play along, you know, to abide by the rules of my mom and dad growing up. But, you know, I knew that I wanted out. And, you know, luckily I was able to get out with my life and no problems. But, you know, there is some deep, crazy shit going on in there as far as the Freemasons are concerned. You know, I started researching all that as far as Charles Taze Russell was concerned, and that whole beginning. I'm sure y'all talked about that at the beginning of the show.
We did. Well, we haven't got into it yet, but that we will definitely get deep into that.
Yeah, you know, and that stuff that is definitely like that is like it's spot on. And the thing is, growing up in the truth, as they call it, they don't tell you anything about all that. And if you start talking about it, you're shut up.
Yeah.
You know, you're brought in the back to the elders. They have a little meeting with you. You know, and that's another thing. Another thing that they do that is very wrong is they have these things called elders meetings, where they take you in the back, determine your future. You know, that they can disfellowship you in those little meetings. And they're basically like 5 men standing around. And if you're in there for some kind of sexual, you know, that misconduct, you know, they ask the most perverted and messed up questions. And
I've heard that from many people.
Yeah. Oh, it's just wrong. And there really needs to be some kind of law instructed to stop that kind of thing. And
I'll make a prediction here that's based on some informed opinions. You're going to see in the very near future some very significant abuse scandals breaking about the Watchtower Bible and Tract Society.
Oh, I'm absolutely sure of it. Absolutely. And, you know, and when it comes down to the damage and the people that have committed suicide because of being separated from their families due to being disfellowshipped, it's atrocious, you know, and it just irks me to the 10th degree. You know, I mean, these people are evil. Not the people, the Jehovah's Witness people that are blind and marching to the beat of their drum. They're not the evil. It's the governing body. It's the ones higher up, you know, in the pyramid up there. Those are the guys that are evil because they know what they're doing. They know that I believe that they're directly connected with Lucifer, and I believe that's who they're worshiping, and that's their God. And, you know, it's just, it's sick what they're doing, man.
Do you have any idea? I mean, you grew up in it, and would you speculate that among, you know, the chosen class, the 144,000, and they kind of know who they are. I noticed I had one lady, I was at one Kingdom Hall with one of my buddies one time, and they introduced me to this lady who said she was one of the 144,000. Do you think there's still some rites and rituals that are going on at the highest levels of the Watchtower?
Oh, absolutely.
I would say too. I am Monica's in the chat room, and she also grew up Jehovah's Witnesses.
Yes, absolutely. And, you know, there is no telling just how sick those rituals get, you know, because
that's my feeling too.
They were involved in some stuff called Enochian magic.
Enochian magic.
Really,
wow.
Yeah, that's some really dark stuff. And Like even people that are involved in magic and stuff that I met, you know, in my later life, that I brought up Enochian magic to them, and they were like, "Man, don't mess with that stuff. That's not to be messed with." You know, so that's some real magic. It's some real stuff, and that's something that the governing body and some of the original people that started the organization were messing with, and it's got to do with like symbols and different things that they're doing in their watchtowers and stuff like that. Some of that's implied in and used.
And I'll bet there's a lot of those symbols embedded in the artwork in the Watchtower and Awake.
Absolutely. Yeah, man. Man, I love it. My wife texted me. I'm at work, man. She texted me and she's like, Jeff Daugherty is doing a show on Jehovah's Witnesses and the Freemasons. I was like, man, it's a call-in show. I said, I think I'm going to call in.
And we'll be doing it probably for at least a week or so, because I'm going to do it at the beginning of these shows and then segue into the call. So it'll be there.
Awesome. Man, I'll call in again because it really.
Please do. You're an expert.
Somebody, you know, that's on the other side. You know what I'm saying? To just like get to pour out my trash can, guy. It just feels good to get to talk to you. I really appreciate it, man.
I want to encourage you to call in as often as you want on this subject, because you're somebody that's been there and done that.
Yes, sir. I appreciate that, Jeff, man. Hey, keep doing what you're doing, man. You're doing a great job, and I'm glad that you're a Trump supporter. I've seen the other videos you did earlier in the week. Man, I'm really scared to death. Man, I hope he gets it again. I'm scared to death of what's going to happen if Biden does, but you know what, man? Let's just hang in there. Let's keep our fingers crossed. Keep a positive attitude. I hope he gets reelected, man.
And Cynthia and I went and voted for him today, so we're doing everything we can.
Awesome, man. I'm going to get in there Tuesday, and I'm sure going to do mine too, buddy.
Absolutely. Take care, my friend. I can't wait to hear from you again.
All right. Have a good day.
Bye-bye. Man, we're on a roll tonight. These are some great calls, and I'm starting to see now why so many people. Again, I get more questions about, will you talk about the Jehovah's Witnesses, than I get as many questions about, will you talk about the Jehovah's Witnesses, as any other subject that we deal with. And we unindoctrinate politically, we unindoctrinate religiously, we unindoctrinate historically, and we unindoctrinate scientifically. And this is one of the great questions. And there's many people that have been in the Jehovah's Witnesses, and I think a lot of people that are in our Desiring Truth go through there. Thank you for holding. It's Late Night in the Heartland, and you're live with Jeffrey Daugherty.
Hey Jeff, how are you?
I'm great. I hope that you are as well, and let us know what's on your mind. You have the floor.
Absolutely. I wanted to ask you about I'm interested in the Y dynamics, and I was having these feelings about my family, and basically my mother and my stepfather's past, and for some reason I have this feeling that maybe they dabbled in witchcraft, and I confronted my mother about it because, I mean, I was raised Southern Baptist, but anyway, to get that kind of clear, how would you go about doing that?
Well, it's a very it's not a difficult process or a hard process, but it is a very systematic process. And you really have to, if you want to do it yourself, it's not something that, how do I say this? You can't dabble in it. It's something that you've got to do systematically, and you have to do from A to Z. You can't really start at F. It doesn't work that well if you do it. So I would encourage you to, go to my playlist on my website that talks about, it's Create Yourself with White Dianetics. And in that box, if it's not there, I'll make sure that it is there by tomorrow, is a URL where you can get the Dianetic materials that are pre-1972, the White Dianetics, and you can get them for, you can download it for free. They're PDFs. And, start with the Dianetics book. It's just called Dianetics, and see how that hits you, because that's really where you got to start. And that book will teach, it's quite a long book, but it'll teach you, starting about the middle of the book, how to go through and work through yourself and set yourself free. And most people, almost everybody, can do it on their own. And if you do need help, you can certainly reach out to me. I'll probably make myself available for that. So that's what I would recommend. And if that's not, I'll get that into the information box on on the playlist itself and on each of the individual videos by this time tomorrow.
Okay, awesome, Jeff. Thank you.
Thank you for calling, and I hope it won't be your last time. Great call.
Oh, thank you. Bye.
Bye-bye now. Boy, we got a lot of smart people in this audience, and it's an honor and a privilege to have you in this audience. And wow, it really is. And I'm looking at the chat a little bit. You know, it's funny. We know that sexuality is sacred. Then why do we call it doing the nasty? See, that's the things that we have to stop. And Jason Kern, in his book about going free, he talks about controlling your own language, recognizing your own language. He talks about recognizing and controlling the language of others in your presence. And what I'm talking about is, like, if you catch yourself saying or calling sex doing the nasty, you got to say, wait a minute. Sexuality is sacred. Sexuality is beautiful. I shouldn't be calling it the nasty because that's an agenda that's trying to make me, Grammarica says, brainwashing. It's trying to make me equate the power and the beauty of sexuality with something nasty. And as Tracy's saying, words have power. And then, like I do on the show, when people call in and say, well, you know, Trump hasn't done anything since he got into office, I'll stop him. Whoa, wait a minute. What do you mean he hasn't done anything since he got into office? He's done this, 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 this. You can't, we have to not allow ourselves to state, and if you get it a little bit deeper, to even think in terms that are not defined, in terms that are not real. And when we, you know, you get into things like, oh, we all know about systemic racism. Oh, wait a minute. That's a racist comment. Well, what do you mean? You're implying that me as a Western person is perpetrating racism. And the reality is actually the opposite. We've just got to stop these thought trains, because these thought trains get rolling. And whenever, the more time somebody says it, it becomes more real to them. And it's our responsibility to stop these trains and make people think about what they're saying. And that's how do I ever get my family out of this or that? Well, first of all, you have to get them to a place where they start listening to what they say, hearing what they say, and taking responsibility for what they say. Cynthia and I had a semi uncomfortable moment in our home recently. Someone that's very near and dear to us. I had to say, listen, no, we're willing to talk about anything, anytime, but it has to be an open discussion. You can't just make a speech and say, those are my convictions. We can't talk about it. So we're welcome to discussion. We're welcome to considerations. We're welcome to challenge, or we're not people that are really true people. So that's why I open up this phone line 10 hours every week, because I want to give the people that question me and doubt me a chance to call in and talk to me, but they won't. Why? Because they know that their string will be unraveled, and they know that they'll be exposed. They know that they'll be exposed. A lot of sex experts in the chat room. Let's kind of steer away from that if we can, because we're really speculating. We don't really know what we think we know, but you know, short comments are okay. Let's not let this get carried away into Dr. Ruth in the chat room if we can help it. But the phone lines are open. We have about 30 minutes left. It's 11:33. We have a hard close at 12 midnight, and this is our last show of the week. So you have about a half an hour to call in and get your questions in before we're done with this show. It's late night in the Heartland, and you're live with Jeffrey Daugherty.
Hi, Jeffrey. It's Wendy Sloan. I just figured I'd call in.
Well, thank you, Wendy. What's on your mind tonight?
Well, I was just going to pipe in and talk a little bit about my experience of
being
a Jehovah's Witness.
Oh, I didn't realize you were in the Watchtower.
Yeah, my parents started studying with Jehovah's Witnesses when I was in first grade. And so that was like 1968, 69, and had our last Christmas. And yeah, I think, well, actually, and then let's see, our last Easter, and then I was in it until 1993. I got baptized when I was 12. So I was in it for like 24 years. So when I remember the last meeting I went to, what had pissed me off was that they were downplaying computers. And I don't think the internet was that big, but they were just talking about the ills of that, computers. And I just thought that they were such hypocrites, because at one time they said the same thing about VHS tapes.
They did, yep.
You know, and then lo and behold, they started using that medium for you know, their Bible propaganda.
They have a very highly trafficked website now.
Right. Isn't it ironic?
It's very ironic.
So, yeah. So my dad is an elder. He's still in it. I'm shunned. I was disfellowshipped at one time when I went through my divorce, and got back, and then I just kind of slipped away. So I guess they think of me as an apostate or disassociated person. But when I wrote a book about the love energy thread in 2014, and I had given my grandmother, my Nana, a copy of it. My uncle, who's a Jehovah's Witness, they were living together, and he took my book, looked at it, and burned it.
Oh my.
So, yeah, so I remember I was speaking at the hypnosis convention one year, and I had called my mom, and I told her I was going to be away for a little bit, and she just really got all over me about the ills of that, you know, of hypnosis. And I ended up, when I was traveling through, I drove up to Massachusetts, where the Guild was having their conference, and then I went to New York, and I stopped at the Watchtower Bible and Tract Society.
Oh, so you went up to Bethel then, huh?
To Bethel, yeah. Actually, my youngest brother spent some time as a Bethelite.
Oh, wow.
He doesn't really talk to me, but I have one brother that never got baptized. Matter of fact, he came in from California. I had dinner with him last night.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, but
what did you think? What were your impressions of Bethel? I don't want to get you off your train of thought, but what were your impressions of Bethel?
Well, I had toured it a few times. I mean, they got a great economic system there, right? They get free labor from people, and they give them a little stipend and a place to live, and you know, food. They have a farm up in New York. Now, some of the information I'm saying could be a little rusty and old, because
I understand
1993 that I was, you know, associated, although I still have family members in it. But yeah, I thought my dad was a printer. So, I mean, like touring Bethel, it was like a very clean, sterile environment, and the smell of ink and paper
I'll bet.
strong in the Bethel. The last time, though, when I went there after that conference, I just went into their main office and asked them, well, what does the Watchtower say about hypnosis? What does it say about Reiki? What, you know, I gave him like 2 or 3 topics, and somebody there was very polite, and he kind of like researched and print me out a few, pages. And it was just interesting, because that particular conference of the National Guild of Hypnotists, I went to, there's a special organization that are ministers, and a class on the apologetics of the faith. And so they took all the Bible scriptures and showed how hypnosis, or that trance state, is written throughout the Bible.
Very interesting, and I would agree with you on that.
Even from taking the rib from Adam, right?
Yeah, I would definitely agree with you that hypnotic trance state, as you put it very well, is, you know, definitely throughout the Bible, no doubt.
Right? Or even seeing angels, right? Was that a trance? I mean, was it physical, or was it more a trance state, or the whole book of Revelation? Was that
perfect? But
state?
Yeah, it's amazing. It's amazing. What else did you have on your mind, Wendy? Very interesting stuff.
Getting out of the religion. You know, when all your friends, because you're not supposed to associate with anybody else because they're worldly.
Right.
Getting out of the truth. You know, it takes a little bit of doing. You have to start to make some friends, you know, that are not Jehovah's Witnesses. And for the longest time, I thought, is my goodness or being a good person, was that associated with being a Jehovah's Witness? Because they have it drummed in you that there's nowhere else to go, that this is the only, you know, religion of truth. And so where would you go? So it took a little undoing, you know, until, you know, I went back to school and to college and got my degrees. And then I did the metaphysical route, and healing route. And more recently with the Donald Trump, 2016 was the first time that I voted, even though I stopped going.
Excellent.
In 1993, it finally took.
Excellent. And I was always very struck by the fact that, and at least in the circles that I ran in for a little while, is that the witnesses are very much against higher education too.
Right. I mean, I was in the top 10% of my class at Coral Springs High. I could have gotten a free ride for my education, but I was told not,
Right.
That wasn't allowed. But although my brother took advantage, he was a year younger than me because he was a male who supposed to support a family.
Gosh, wow, that's amazing. That's really amazing. And a lot of good people seeking for truth. It's a pseudo truth, and a lot of people get trapped in it. And that's really why I'm doing this, so people can see through and really get a desire to seek total truth of themselves and not just a pseudo or a faux truth.
True. And, I didn't see any of it. Having a father, a brother, a husband at one time that was elders. I mean, there was none of the ritualistic Masonic or Luciferian thing that filtered down that I know of.
Well,
but
good.
I'm not denying it because I look, you look at the capstone of where Russell was buried.
Yep.
Right by a Masonic temple, and the symbology of it. Of course, none of that symbology was taught, but it is like, as you said, it's all through the drawings and of the Watchtower and the Wake magazines.
It definitely is. It definitely is.
And then there was a big change in the 1930s, 40s. After Russell died with Rutherford, there was a big power play in corporation, and who actually owns the corporation? I mean, who were the shareholders, or who are the shareholders? And I know that there was a big, they did rely heavily on the ADL, the Anti-Defamation League.
They did.
For court cases. So that gives a big question mark too.
Yeah, so there's definitely a lot of, whenever there's Freemason, there's Jesuit, and there's also very powerful Limish influence as well.
And very the way that they get people hooked on, to study the Bible, it sounds all good. You go to a meeting or two, people get love bombed, and then very early on, the first or second lesson that they're taught is that people around you may discourage you or may say that you're an occult. So they kind of overcome that objection as a sales technique in a way.
They do. They preempt that objection, don't they? And one of the things that I discovered, Wendy, I was sitting there and I went to, because my buddy said, well, if you'll go to the Kingdom Hall with me, I'll go to church with you. Of course, he never intended to go to church with you. They never do. But I went into the Kingdom Hall and they're asking these questions. They're passing the microphone around. I'm thinking, boy, these people are really well-spoken. They really give good answers. And then I realized that they were just reading the answers out of the Watchtower. It wasn't their own thought to answer at all. They're just reading by rote. And Monica says that Marcus Vaughn, former Bethelite, shares his experience at Bethel and speaks about the real life while there. And Mr. Vaughn apparently experienced alcohol, swinging, homosexuality, racism, and channeling in Bethel. Did your brother ever say anything about anything of that nature?
No.
Okay.
I guess he was in a different clique of people.
Yeah, and people are people, whether they're at Bethel or whether they're at the house next door. You just never know what's going on inside those doors. Wendy, it's a great call. Do you have anything else to add to it?
Nope, that's all for tonight.
Wendy, thank you so much for calling. I hope that you continue to call back, and thank you for being a great subscriber to this channel. We appreciate you very much.
Okay, thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Yes, indeed. And Sahi, you just got yourself banned from the channel. Bye-bye. I don't know how many times I have to say, have the balls to make the calls or have a hot cup of shut the hell up. It's not your channel. We're trying to drive calls. We're live worldwide. It's cost me $1,400 a month to do it. And unless you give me $700, I'll give you half time. But until then, zip it or have the balls and make a call. Sahi Luke, you can call in right now. The lines are open. Say whatever you want to say as long as you're polite and as long as you're interesting. But you can't troll bomb my chat room. Tracy makes a good point. This channel is a dictatorship, and at best, it's a benevolent dictatorship. So that's the way it goes, and that's my story, and I'm sticking to it. We have just about maybe 11 or 12 minutes time for maybe one or two more calls. If you want to reach me, if you're listening on shortwave, please tell me that you are when you call. And if you're listening on shortwave, no matter where you are, you can pick up the phone and you can dial 913-279-0831. 913-279-0831. You can call that number and you'll hear welcome to the Christian Whistleblower. Just press 0. And if you hear music when you call in, well, that means that you're on hold, and I'll get to you just as soon as I can. Proudly broadcasting on WCBQ The Planet, 7.490 megahertz, all across the world. And here's another great call. And they hung up just as I was answering it. Sorry about that. Here we go again. It's late night in the heartland, and you are live with Jeffrey Daugherty.
Jeffrey, hello, am I live?
You are live.
Okay, there's a little bit of a lag on the video, but I've got it turned down.
Thank you.
But I'm calling in regards to the last couple of callers that have called in about the Jehovah's Witness organization.
Yes, sir.
And I can back up everything that they've said. They gave some really good information. But one thing I wanted to touch on that you might already know this, but a lot of the stuff about Russell, when Russell was running the organization, it was a little bit different. His teachings were a little bit more Masonic base in depth and more blatant. But one very interesting thing is that in one of his publications, he mentioned that Jehovah, he resided on a star.
I remember that. I've read this.
Yeah, he resided on a star in the Pleiades star cluster
Yes.
in a Taurus constellation. And he also made several different references, and I don't have them in front of me, but just something you could look up, to share on your shows later when you're talking about these things, is that he even mentioned several times about communicating with spirits himself.
He did.
So he seemed to be, when Rutherford took over, it turned into more of the business an enterprise that it came to be.
Judge Rutherford, right?
Yes, Judge Rutherford. He became the president a couple years after Russell died, on Halloween, to be exact.
That's right. And when was Frederick Franz in? Did he follow the judge?
Franz followed. He came in after.
Okay.
Yes. And I'm kind of rusty on all this.
That's all right.
I grew up in the organization. It's been a long time since I've had a conversation like this with anyone about it. So,
but you're exactly right about the star thing. I remember reading that, and it's amazing. It's amazing.
The first time I read about that a few years ago, probably about 10 years ago, actually, because even though I've been out of that organization since I was 17, but I was full-fledged in it though with my parents, and I seen everything that earlier gentleman was talking about with the elders' rooms and the kids not being able to play sports. I was one of them. I was very good at sports. We didn't salute the flag
right.
in school. I was always a major outcast at school. I had good friends, and I got along with everybody, but I was always known as different.
I didn't realize that you couldn't play sports.
Yeah, they frown on anything and everything that doesn't have to do with the Kingdom Hall or anything like that. The only thing I was only ever really able to get away with was being in the science club. I was able to pull that off. And I remember one time I stayed after school and I snuck and tried out for the track team, and I blew everybody away in the 200 meter. But I got home at like 6 o'clock in the evening, and my sister was like, where have you been? And I'm like, well, I tried out
she
right
ratted you out.
She's like, well, you're in trouble, you know.
Why do you think the organization never started their own private grade schools?
Probably a matter of funding.
Yeah.
I would say it was probably a matter of money. The way that they had everything set up. I visited Bethel when I was a kid, and the way they had everything set up is basically was a publishing company.
Right.
And they made all of their money off of their publications.
And they actually call you, as when you're going out door to door, you're actually called publishers, right?
Yes, I was called a publisher.
Mm-hmm.
I was a pioneer as a kid.
Oh, you were a pioneer. Okay, great. You were big time.
I was very into it when I was a kid. I wanted to please my mother.
What is that? At least 40 hours a week makes you a pioneer?
Well, there's an auxiliary pioneer, and I think that you do like 20.
Okay. Yep.
And then there's a regular pioneer, or I might have those backwards.
Yep, I'm with you.
One of them's 20 hours a week, and one of them's 40 hours a week, and I did both of them. I started getting up on the stage when I was 4 years old.
Wow.
Giving talks in front of the congregation, and I continued to do that all the way up until I was 17. I was really very well versed in the scriptures, very well trained and indoctrinated, you know. But I remember when I used to go out in what they called field service.
Mm-hmm.
Some friends of mine joke around lately. We've ended up calling it like an Illuminati psyop, you know, the whole organization. But
and I think that's accurate.
Yeah, and one of the crazy things that they do, not only do you go to the doors, okay, and you in your neighborhoods and your community, but you take notes on each house that you go to.
Ooh, I didn't know that, but that makes sense because I remember them saying, oh, yeah, we weren't supposed to knock on this door one time when I was the pastor of a church and it was a house. And I had, tried to talk to them a few times. And like, oh, we weren't supposed to knock on this door. And now that you say that, it triggers that memory.
Right. So you take notes on all the houses that you go to. You in your notes, you talk about the conversation you had with the people. Whether you're going to go back or not. It's called a RV, a return visit. Everything has codes with like 2 letters.
Yep.
Okay? But the RV means you're going to go back and do a return visit. But it's kind of like I don't want to say CIA. I don't know a lot about any of that, but I know that you're documenting your city, and they have what's called a territory map.
Yep.
And your whole city is broken down into sections. And you're taking intel on your the whole city.
Believe it or not, when I was a pastor and an evangelist, I used to teach witnessing out of the Theocratic Ministry School book, that little red book. I used to teach out of that book.
Oh, it's very good. I mean, I later in my life got into public speaking and doing a lot of things, although when I just caught into you, I was a little bit nervous. That's just natural. I'm glad to have got on the phone with you. I've been watching you and listening to your shows for several years now.
Well, I'm glad you called.
But I know a lot about them and a lot of information, but I don't have any notes in front of me.
Mm-hmm.
I wasn't really prepared for this conversation, but it is one that I'm very well versed in.
And you're doing great.
And be good at having it, especially if I was more prepared.
And I would welcome you as we go through this. It's probably gonna take me 2 weeks to get through it all. And I encourage you, whenever you can, if you want to call in every night. You and Wendy and Monica, the people that have been in the organization, you're the ones that I want to hear from. So please don't feel hesitant to call in at all.
Oh, I would love to. I don't want to call back and be a repeater, as you call it, on some of your other shows.
But you can repeat because you've been there. You're repeating as a reporter, so you've been there and done that. You're exactly the person that knows. Even me, I don't really know like you know because I have never been a witness. I tried to be. I thought about it, but I just couldn't get myself over the glaring discrepancies I saw in the doctrine. But the people were great. They seemed very, very sincere, most of them, but I just couldn't make myself do it. And of course, I'm glad I didn't now.
Right. Well, morally, they're some of the best people. You know, I have nothing to say negative about most of the people in it. Like you're saying, it's just in the deep rooted part of it. It's something else, though. It's not what it appears to be on the surface. And like the gentleman earlier talking about all the subliminal things in the magazines and the pictures. If you flip through your publications, almost every other page is like scary images. Negative imagery, just fear mongering tactics. You know, that they use is part of what they use. But,
and I don't know how they do it. I think it's more than just the quality of the art, but if you flip through, if you sit down and just, clear your mind of everything else, and if you sit down and flip through a Watchtower or flip through an Awake, they have a strangely hypnotic power about them.
Yes. And one of the reasons I think that's so good is because it's very elementary.
It is.
The way they put things, it's almost like third grade level reading material.
Yeah, Jimmy Swaggart always said to me, Jeffrey, put your goodies on the lowest shelf, and they're very good at that.
Yeah, it's very hypnotic though. They're very good. And have you seen the guy on the JW.org show, the main guy, like that they?
No, I haven't looked.
If you ever go look at their website, okay, JW.org,
mm-hmm.
and look at the main guy that they use to talk to everyone, to whatever he's doing, his eyes, he kind of reminds me of the guy that was on the, remember when all the 27 cult followers drank the stuff?
Oh, yeah. I remember those guys.
And all that.
The
Apollo was coming over.
They weren't the Raelians, but the guy out in Southern California, right? Heaven's Gate.
Yeah, and on the VHS tape, he had them really big eyes.
Yeah, Heaven's Gate, they were called.
Heaven's Gate, correct.
And we got 2 minutes. 2 minutes.
Okay, I'm going to let you go. This guy reminds me of the Heaven's Gate guy, though. Just
wow.
Go check out JW.org. Reminds me of the Heaven's Gate guy. And I sometimes I wonder how they even let a guy like this be their representative.
Because they've got a lot of talented people in that organization. They've got a lot of great public speakers because, of course, they're taught to be public speakers. They're going out door to door. They make some of the greatest salespeople.
Not even well spoken. Like, this guy is just creepy.
It's so weird.
Go check him out, and you just take 5 minutes to go check him out. He's just.
I will.
You know who I'm talking about. He's a creepy fella.
I will.
But I appreciate the time and getting able to call in, and I would love to call back in.
Well, keep doing it.
I'm going to be listening and try to touch on some things that I can share with you and the people.
Sounds great. I appreciate it. Thanks for it. And that's going to wrap up our call-in portion of the show. Boy, that's a way to end strong. The calls tonight have been nothing short of spectacular, and you guys are the most amazing audience on YouTube. All of you listening by WBCQ. Is it BCQ or is it, WBCQ since 1998, coming out of the great state of Maine. We're broadcasting on shortwave across the world. And if you're listening on WBCQ, give us a call. Let us know that you're listening, or send me an email. Gotham, just Jeffrey at jeffreydaugherty.com. Jeffrey at jeffreydaugherty.com. Let me know you're out there. Because, we'll have to make a business decision. It's $1,400 a month, and I want to thank those of you that have helped us defray that. But we'll have to make a business decision at some point as to whether or not it continues to work. But we're all about getting the message out, and this is a great way to get the message out to millions and millions of people. And it really is very, very cost effective. Monica makes an interesting statement that lots of Kingdom Halls are closing, and she's echoing my prophecy, if you will, prediction that there's lawsuits of past sexual abuse that are abounding, and that the Watchtower is crumbling. And I think you're going to see that. I think you're going to see that for sure. I do ask you to give us a thumbs up if you like this show. Give us a thumbs down if you hated it. And consider subscribing to the channel and hitting the bell. If you love me, you don't want to miss any of our programming. If you think I'm dangerous, you better keep your eye on me, because I am just getting started. We broadcast here Monday through Friday from 10 p.m. Central till midnight. And we will do other shows beyond that here on the Christian Whistleblower on YouTube. So don't miss any of those. And we encourage you to call in every time you want to. Nobody gets refused. And ladies and gentlemen, this has been another great week of podcast excellence. I appreciate you so much for being here. I salute all of the great moderators. You make things so much easier. And I salute those of you that are here seeking after truth. You are the good guys. We're the last generation of real humans, and we're about to make a difference. It's going to be better than it's ever been, sooner than you can even imagine. And I want to say personally to you, thank you for being here. This has been Late Night in the Heartland, and I thank you for making my day.